The bridge of the Eternal Victory hummed with the soft chirping of status monitors and the gentle clicking of Scyther appendages dancing across control surfaces. Captain Sreeth maintained his usual stoic posture in the command chair, compound eyes reflecting the swirling patterns of nearby nebula gases displayed on the main view screen. "Status report on the merchant vessel," he commanded, his secondary voice box adding the formal harmonics required for bridge communication. Lieutenant Prevail adjusted her sensor array before responding. "The vessel's power signature continues to decay, Captain. Life support systems are operating at 12% capacity. I detect approximately 34 life forms aboard, though the interference from the nebula makes exact readings difficult." Sreeth's mandibles twitched in what his crew recognized as satisfaction. A disabled merchant vessel with minimal defensive capabilities and a small crew complement, perfect for what High Command called a resource reclamation mission. "Begin standard approach vectors," he ordered. "Tactical, prepare boarding protocols. Medical, ready the processing chambers." Each command brought a chorus of acknowledgments from his well-trained crew. They had performed this operation dozens of times before. The merchant vessel grew larger on their display, its hull bearing the distinctive markings of Mercadian trading ships. Their reputation for carrying valuable technological artifacts made them particularly appealing targets for reclamation. Sreeth had already composed the official report in his mind. "Discovered vessel in distress. Despite our best efforts, environmental systems failed before rescue could be completed. All artifacts successfully salvaged for the greater glory of the collective." Captain Prevail's sudden outcry carried the harmonic pattern of urgent concern. "New contact detected at bearing 347 Mark 218. Sreeth's carapace bristled. "Classification: unknown configuration, sir." The vessel emerged from the nebula's outer rim. "Its drive signature doesn't match any known." Prevail's voice trailed off, all four of her hands freezing above her console. "Lieutenant," Sreeth demanded. "Sir, the computer just completed its preliminary analysis of the ship's construction patterns." Prevail's voice dropped to a whisper that barely engaged her translator. It's human." The bridge fell silent. Even the ambient sounds of equipment seemed to dim as the word human rippled through the command center. Sreeth felt his inner membranes constrict. In all his cycles of service, he had never encountered humans directly, but every member of the collective knew the stories. "Confirm," he snapped, his secondary voice box crackling with stress harmonics. "Confirmed, Captain. Material composition and energy patterns align with known human engineering signatures. The vessel is approximately 1/3 our size, but..." Prevail paused, running the scan again. "Sir, their power readings make no sense. According to these readings, they're containing the energy equivalent of a small star within their hull." "Tactical status," Sreeth barked. "Their weapon systems appear inactive, sir," the tactical officer reported. "But their defensive capabilities, we can't get clear readings. Their hull seems to be both solid and not solid simultaneously." Sreeth's training warred with his instincts. The Eternal Victory was a superior vessel by any normal metric. They had the advantage in size, conventional armament, and crew complement. But humans didn't adhere to normal metrics. "They're broadcasting, Captain," communications announced. "Text only, standard trade language." "Display," Sreeth ordered, his inner eyes focusing on the message as it appeared. "Greetings, Eternal Victory. We noticed you've also picked up the Mercadian distress call. We have medical teams standing by and would appreciate coordinating rescue efforts. Transmitting emergency response protocols now. Please acknowledge." The message was simple, professional, and absolutely terrifying in its implications. The humans had identified their ship by name, correctly assumed their ability to detect the Mercadian vessel's condition, and were now proposing cooperation as if it were the most natural response in the universe. Sreeth realized that his carefully planned salvage operation had just become something far more complicated. The humans weren't making threats or demands. Somehow, their calm offer of assistance felt far more dangerous than any show of force could have been. "Your orders, Captain," his first officer asked quietly. Sreeth stared at the message for 3 more heartbeats before responding. "Begin emergency response protocols and contact High Command. Priority 1. It was going to be a very long shift. Second Officer Krital found himself surrounded by junior crew members in the auxiliary observation chamber. The room's curved walls displayed the human vessel in real time, its sleek hull defying traditional engineering principles. While they awaited High Command's response, the younger officers had sought him out, knowing he had witnessed human capabilities firsthand. "Is it true?" asked Engineering Cadet Angsafi, her sensory bristles quivering with barely contained curiosity. "Did you really see them reshape a star?" Krital adjusted his posture, his exoskeleton creaking slightly as he settled into the storytelling position. "Not exactly," he began, watching their antennae droop in disappointment. "What I saw was far more impressive." The junior officers leaned closer, their compound eyes reflecting the distant glow of the nebula. 2 cycles ago, I served aboard the scientific Endeavor. We were observing a dying star system when 3 human mining vessels appeared." Krital's secondary voice box hummed with the harmonics of remembered awe. Our captain prepared to warn them about the star's instability, but they already knew. They weren't there by accident. He gestured toward the view screen where the human ship hung motionless against the backdrop of space. They had come to save the system's second planet, which hosted a pre-spaceflight civilization, instead of evacuating them, which would have violated their development protocols. The humans decided to stabilize the star. "Impossible," blurted tactical trainee Versek. "Even our most advanced stellar engineering can only delay stellar decay by a few cycles at most." Krital's mandibles clicked in amusement. Impossible is a word humans treat as a personal challenge. They configured their mining equipment into what they called a stellar support network. Within 6 hours, they had created a lattice of energy fields that redirected the star's plasma flows. They didn't just delay the stellar decay, they reversed it. The chamber filled with the soft trilling sounds of disbelief. The scientific Endeavor's sensors recorded everything. Krital continued. "The humans use technology we still can't comprehend to manipulate forces we barely understand. But here's what truly sets them apart. When our captain asked why they would expend such resources to save one primitive species, their response was simply, because we could help." A new voice joined the conversation. "And that's what makes them dangerous." Captain Sreeth stepped into the chamber, his carapace bearing the formal markings of recent communication with High Command. The junior officers snapped to attention, but Sreeth waved them back to their relaxed postures. "Continue, Krital. The crew needs to understand what we're dealing with." Krital nodded, his inner eyes focusing on a distant memory. "Humans don't think like we do. Where we see boundaries, they see suggestions. When we identify limits, they treat them as temporary inconveniences. Their ships don't make sense because they're not bound by what we consider possible. The reports are stored in our highest security archives." Sreeth added, "Humans have turned gas giants into spacecraft, transformed asteroid fields into computational networks, and routinely accomplish feats that our scientists insist should tear reality apart. But why haven't they conquered the galaxy?" Angsafi asked, voicing the question that haunted many species' military strategists. Krital's mandibles formed the expression of profound realization. "Because they don't want to. Humans could probably reshape the galaxy to their liking, but instead, they focus on helping others. They protect developing civilizations, assist with ecological disasters, and share their less reality-bending technologies freely. And now," Sreeth added grimly, "they're here, offering to help us with a rescue operation that wasn't meant to be a rescue." He turned to face the human vessel on the display. "High Command has ordered us to cooperate fully and avoid any actions they might perceive as hostile." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. They were about to work alongside beings who casually manipulated the fabric of spacetime, not because they had to, but because humans simply couldn't resist solving problems. The main bridge of the Eternal Victory thrummed with nervous energy as the human transmission appeared on their primary display. Captain Sreeth had expected demands, threats, or at least pointed questions about their presence near the disabled Mercadian vessel. Instead, his crew stared at detailed engineering schematics annotated in perfect standard trade language. "They've mapped our entire rescue capability," Lieutenant Prevail reported, her voice carrying harmonics of disbelief. "The interface protocols, emergency pod specifications, even our medical bay configurations." She paused, mandibles clicking rapidly. "Sir, these schematics are dated 3 minutes ago." Sreeth felt his inner membranes constrict. "They scanned our entire ship that quickly." "Not exactly, Captain," Engineering Chief Stratil interjected, his appendages dancing across multiple displays. "According to these timestamps, they adapted their rescue systems to match our capabilities in real time. They're not just scanning us. They're actively reconfiguring their technology to work seamlessly with ours." The bridge crew watched as new diagrams appeared, showing how the human vessel could link its systems directly with both the Eternal Victory and the Mercadian ship. Their technology seemed to flow like liquid, reshaping itself to match whatever it encountered. "They're requesting a direct communication link," Communications Officer Pexlin announced. "Audio and visual." Sreeth straightened in his command chair, careful to display the proper formal posture for first contact situations. "Accept the transmission." The main screen shifted to show the interior of the human bridge. Sreeth had expected to see the stark, utilitarian design common to most spacefaring species. Instead, the human command center looked more like a living organism. Displays curved naturally around the crew, and what appeared to be plants grew from various surfaces, their leaves gently filtering the air. The human captains stood from their chair, which seemed to flow with their movement. "Greetings, Captain Sreeth. I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the Star Shepherd. Thank you for your quick response to the emergency." Sreeth noticed how she made no mention of their original intentions toward the Mercadian vessel. Her smile carried no hint of accusation, yet somehow that made it more unnerving. "We're prepared to begin rescue operations," he responded, falling back on formal protocols. "Though your proposed integration of our systems is unprecedented." "Oh, that's just our standard adaptive interface," Captain Chen replied casually. "Our engineering team noticed your ship uses quantum crystalline processors for life support monitoring. Brilliant design, by the way. We thought it would be more efficient to match your computational architecture rather than force both ships to use translation protocols." Several bridge officers exchanged alarmed glances. The Skither quantum crystalline technology was supposed to be a closely guarded secret. "We've also taken the liberty of upgrading the emergency transport pod's radiation shielding," she continued, gesturing to a floating display. "The nebula's been releasing some unusual thoron particles. Nothing dangerous with the new shielding, but better safe than sorry." As if to demonstrate, a small sphere of light detached itself from the Star Shepherd's hull. It glided gracefully through space, approaching the Mercadian vessel. Upon contact, it spread across the ship's hull like ripples in water, leaving behind a faint iridescent sheen. "Thoron radiation levels within the Mercadian ship are already dropping," Prevail reported, her voice barely hiding her amazement. "The shield modification it's not just blocking the radiation, it's somehow converting it into supplementary power for their life support systems." Captain Chen nodded approvingly. "Excellent. Now, shall we begin the evacuation? Our medical bay has already adapted its atmospheric controls to accommodate both Mercadian and Skither physiologies. We can start receiving survivors whenever you're ready." Sreeth found himself responding automatically, his training taking over where comprehension failed. As his crew coordinated with the humans, he couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just a rescue operation. It was a demonstration. The humans weren't just showing them advanced technology. They were showing them what was possible when that technology was used to help others. And somehow, that felt more revolutionary than any weapon could ever be. Lieutenant Prevail had run the sensor diagnostics 3 times, but the readings remained the same. The Star Shepherd's hull continued to defy conventional physics, shifting between states in a way that made her scientific training scream in protest. "Recording another anomaly, Captain," she reported, trying to keep her voice steady. "The human vessel just passed through a debris field that our calculations showed as impenetrable." Captain Sreeth watched as the Star Shepherd navigated the treacherous space between ships. The vessel's hull rippled like liquid metal, threading through gaps that shouldn't have accommodated its size. Each movement seemed to bend the very fabric of space around it. How are they managing their inertia? Engineering Chief Sertil wondered aloud, his appendages tapping frantically across his console. "They're changing direction without any apparent acceleration curves. Their hull is doing something strange with local spacetime," Prevail responded, adjusting her sensors again. "It's as if they're not so much moving through space as they're encouraging space to move around them." The human ship's graceful maneuvers continued as it established a 3-way connection between the vessels. Tendrils of energy, looking more like living light than any known technology, stretched between the ships, creating stable transfer corridors for the rescue operation. Captain Chen's voice came through the comm system, still maintaining that casual tone that made the impossible sound routine. "We've established primary rescue corridors. The phase-shifted containment fields should protect against any spatial distortions from the nebula. Your crew can begin evacuation procedures whenever ready." Sreeth watched as his tactical officer, Versek, studied the readouts from the human energy corridors. "Sir, these fields, they're not just protecting against spatial distortions. They're actively smoothing local space. Anyone traveling through them won't experience any motion sickness or disorientation." "Thoughtful of them," Sreeth noted, trying to mask his growing unease at just how far human technology had advanced. "Begin evacuation procedures." The first group of Scyther medical personnel entered the glowing corridor. Their reports came back immediately, filled with poorly concealed awe. The passage through the field felt, in their words, like walking through a summer breeze. Physics-defying technology turned to something as simple as ensuring comfort during rescue operations. "Captain," Prevail called out, her voice carrying harmonics of surprise, "I'm detecting something interesting about their power source. The energy signature, it's familiar somehow." Sreeth moved to her station, examining the readings himself. The pattern did seem familiar, but impossibly so. "It looks like a stellar core," Prevail finished, "but contained, controlled. They've somehow taken the power source Prevail described from their stellar engineering projects and miniaturized it. They're carrying a captured star fragment in their engine room." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. A species that could harness and miniaturize stellar power wasn't just advanced. They were operating on a level that made most civilizations' greatest achievements look like primitive tools. Status update from their medical bay. Communications Officer Pexelin reported, breaking the silence. "They've begun receiving Mercadian survivors. Their medical technology is, sir, they're healing radiation damage and long-term stasis effects almost instantly." Through the main viewport, Sreeth watched as more energy tendrils emerged from the Star Shepherd, these ones ending in small devices that began repairing the Mercadian ship's hull. The repairs looked less like traditional space engineering and more like watching wounds heal on a living creature. "They're not just rescuing the crew," Sertil observed quietly. "They're going to fix the entire ship, just because they can." Sreeth felt his worldview shifting as he watched the humans work. His species prided themselves on their military might, their technological superiority. But here were humans, casually wielding power that could have made them unstoppable conquerors, and using it all for a rescue mission they hadn't even been called to perform. Perhaps that, he realized, was the most impressive display of power of all. Captain Sreeth touched his command override to the secure terminal in his private chamber, his inner eyes fixed on the screen as classified files streamed past. High Command's response to his situation report had been immediate and unprecedented. Full access to all records concerning human encounters, regardless of security clearance. The first file opened automatically, displaying footage from a mineral extraction operation near the spiral arm's edge. Sreeth watched as a human exploration vessel discovered a primitive species about to be displaced by the mining operation. Instead of simply reporting the situation, the humans transformed the entire mining complex into a floating city, preserving both the resource extraction and the native species habitat. Computer, display technical analysis. Sreeth commanded, his secondary voice box vibrating with tension. Detailed scans appeared, showing how the humans had manipulated gravitational fields to suspend massive structures in the air. The native species never even realized their ground-based civilization had been gently lifted 3 kilometers into the sky, while mining operations continued safely below. The next file showed something even more remarkable. A human medical ship had encountered a planet suffering from total atmospheric collapse. Rather than evacuate the population, they had reprogrammed their vessel's waste recycling systems into atmospheric processors. Within days, they had not only stabilized the atmosphere, but had improved its composition. Display human technological progression data, Sreeth ordered. The computer complied, showing a timeline that made his mandibles click in disbelief. Humans had gone from their first primitive space flight to reality-altering technology in less than 3 centuries. Most species took millennia to achieve half as much. A soft chime interrupted his research. "Enter," he called out, recognizing Prevail's specific entry request pattern. His sensor officer stepped into the chamber, her carapace showing signs of agitation. "Captain, I've detected something unusual in the Star Shepherd's transmission patterns. They're not just communicating. They're somehow using communication itself to stabilize local spacetime." Sreeth gestured toward his display. "Look at this," he said, bringing up another file. 3 cycles ago, humans prevented a temporal cascade in the hexagon cluster. They didn't just stop it. They turned the temporal energy into a communication network that warns ships about similar dangers. "They turn problems into solutions," Prevail observed, her antennae twitching thoughtfully. "But sir, why are these files showing us this now? Surely High Command had a reason for granting such broad access." Sreeth opened the final file in the sequence. The footage showed a human ship, badly damaged, facing 3 Sk'Ther battle cruisers. Standard military doctrine predicted its immediate destruction. Instead, the human vessel absorbed the energy from the Sk'Ther weapons, used it to repair its own hull, and then transformed the excess power into a shield that protected all 4 ships from an unexpected solar flare. "The humans didn't win that battle," Sreeth explained, his voice carrying harmonics of revelation. "They refused to acknowledge it was a battle at all. They treated it as a mutual survival scenario and saved everyone involved." Prevail studied the footage, her scientific training warring with what she was seeing. "Is this why High Command ordered full cooperation? Because humans are too powerful to fight?" "No," Sreeth replied, accessing the final notation in the file. "Because humans are too valuable to alienate. Look at this." The screen displayed a statistical analysis showing how every species that had established positive relations with humans had experienced unprecedented technological and social advancement. Not through direct gifts of technology, but through exposure to new ways of thinking about problems. They're not just sharing technology, Prevail realized. They're sharing perspective. Sreeth closed the files, his inner eyes reflecting the fading light of the display. "And now they're here, offering us the same opportunity. The question is, are we advanced enough to recognize it?" A soft alert sounded, indicating the Star Shepherd was requesting an update on their joint rescue operation. Sreeth straightened, suddenly aware that every interaction with the humans was more than just a diplomatic exchange. It was a chance to learn how to see the universe through their impossibility-defying eyes. The rescue operation had settled into a smooth rhythm when Lieutenant Prevail's sensors lit up with multiple alerts. "Captain, 3 ships dropping out of hyperspace. Storm Hunter configurations. Captain Sreeth felt his carapace tighten. The Storm Hunters were infamous throughout the sector, notorious for targeting vulnerable vessels during rescue operations. Their ships emerged from hyperspace in perfect attack formation, their black hulls absorbing light from the nearby nebula. "They're targeting the Mercadian vessel," Tactical Officer Versek reported, his appendages moving rapidly across his console. "Their weapons are charging." "Wait." He paused, mandibles clicking in confusion. "The human ship is launching something." Through the main viewport, they watched as a small object, no larger than a standard escape pod, emerged from the Star Shepherd's hull. The device gleamed like polished crystal, trailing threads of light that seemed to weave themselves into the fabric of space. "What are they doing?" Sreeth wondered aloud. A single drone against 3 combat vessels. Captain Chen's voice came through the comm system, still maintaining that remarkable calm. "Fascinating design on those ships. Early Calaxian architecture with some interesting modifications. Would you mind if we try something?" Before Sreeth could respond, the crystal drone reached a point equidistant between all ships. It began to spin, and the threads of light it had been trailing suddenly expanded, forming an intricate web of luminescent patterns. "Remarkable energy readings," Prevail reported, her scientific curiosity overriding her concern. "The patterns aren't just light. There's some kind of quantum-entangled matrix. It's connecting all 6 ships together." The lead Storm Hunter vessel fired a warning shot, but the energy beam struck the light web and transformed. The aggressive burst of plasma became a shower of crystalline particles that flowed back into the pattern, making it glow brighter. "This is Star Shepherd to approaching vessels," Captain Chen broadcast on all frequencies. "We've taken the liberty of establishing a collaborative space-time manifold between our ships. Your weapon's energy will only serve to strengthen the connection. Might we suggest a different approach to this encounter?" The Storm Hunter's response came in the form of a full broadside attack. Energy weapons from all 3 ships struck the luminescent web simultaneously. Instead of destruction, they witnessed transformation. Each blast was caught, converted, and channeled into the growing pattern. "The human drone is doing something else now," Prevail announced, her voice carrying harmonics of awe. "It's not just converting their weapons' energy. It's rewriting the fundamental properties of local space." Sreeth watched as the light web began to solidify, creating what looked like crystalline paths between all ships involved. The Storm Hunter's vessels, despite their engines firing at full power, remained perfectly stationary. "A prison?" Versek suggested, studying the tactical readings. "No," Sreeth realized, remembering the archives. "An opportunity." Captain Chen's next transmission confirmed his insight. "We've established stable quantum channels between all our vessels. Rather than waste energy on conflict, we'd be happy to help you modify those impressive weapon systems into something more constructive. Our engineering team has some fascinating ideas about converting plasma cannons into atmospheric purifiers. Would you like to discuss the possibilities?" The bridge of the Eternal Victory fell silent as they watched the Storm Hunter's predicament. The pirates were neither attacked nor threatened, yet found themselves completely unable to continue their assault. Instead, they were being offered a chance to transform their tools of destruction into something beneficial. "They're responding," Communications Officer Pexelin announced, surprise evident in her voice. "The Storm Hunter captain is requesting technical specifications for the conversion process." Sreeth felt his understanding of power shifting once again. The humans hadn't defeated the pirates through superior firepower or technology. They had simply created a situation where cooperation became the most intelligent choice. The crystal drone at the center of the quantum web began to pulse with new patterns of light, each ripple carrying streams of technical data. Captain Sreeth watched in fascination as the Storm Hunter's weapon systems began to transform, their destructive energy redirected into something entirely new. "The human engineering team is remarkable," Engineering Chief Zertil commented, studying the incoming data. "They're not just deactivating the weapons, They are completely reconstituting their fundamental properties. Those plasma cannons are becoming atmospheric processors. Lieutenant Prevail adjusted her sensors to better analyze the process. The quantum channels aren't just for communication. They're acting as templates, showing the Storm Hunter systems how to reshape themselves. It's like teaching by example at the atomic level. Through the main viewport, they could see the physical manifestation of this transformation. The Storm Hunter ships, originally designed to project threat and menace with their sharp angles and black hulls, were developing an iridescent sheen. Their weapon ports now emitted soft, blue-green light instead of the angry red of plasma containment fields. Receiving transmission from the Star Shepherd, Communications Officer Pexlin announced, "They're offering to demonstrate the capabilities of the converted systems." Captain Chen's voice came through, carrying that now familiar tone of enthusiastic collaboration. "We've finished the primary conversions. Would anyone like to see what these ships can do now?" The nebula's radiation levels could use some attention. Before anyone could respond, the transformed ships moved in perfect synchronization. Beams of purifying energy extended from their former weapon ports, reaching into the nebula's colorful gases. Where the light touched, the chaotic energies calmed, harmful radiation transformed into stable matter. "Incredible readings," Prevail reported, her voice carrying harmonics of pure scientific joy. "The converted systems are actually stabilizing the nebulous particle storms. They're turning a navigation hazard into a safe shipping lane." The Storm Hunter's crews, initially resistant, now seemed fully engaged in their new role. Their ships moved with increasing confidence, working in concert with the quantum web to expand their effect on the surrounding space. The human drone is adapting its field to support their work, Tactical Officer Versek noted. "It's like watching a conductor leading an orchestra of light." Sreeth understood the analogy. The quantum web pulsed and flowed, guiding the transformed ships in their new purpose. Each beam of energy joined in a greater pattern, creating something that was both beautiful and practical. Message from the Storm Hunter flagship, Pexlin announced, surprise evident in her harmonics. Their captain says, they want to know what else these systems can do. They're requesting permanent conversion of their remaining weapons. Through the command channel, Captain Chen's response carried a warmth that seemed to match the glowing quantum web. "We'd be happy to help with the full conversion. Our engineering team has some fascinating ideas about turning those missile launchers into stellar cartography arrays. The patterns they're creating in the nebula would make excellent navigation beacons." The bridge crew of the Eternal Victory watched as former pirates threw themselves into their new role with surprising enthusiasm. The Storm Hunters, once terrors of the shipping lanes, were becoming active participants in making those lanes safer. "It's not just the technology they're changing," Prevail observed quietly. "It's their entire perspective. The humans didn't just give them new tools. They showed them a new way to exist in space." Sreeth nodded, remembering the classified files he'd studied. This was humanity's true power, not the ability to transform matter and energy, but the gift of transforming purpose. They hadn't neutralized the Storm Hunters as enemies. They'd converted them into allies by showing them a better way to use their skills. As the symphony of light continued to play across the nebula, Sreeth realized that they were watching more than a demonstration of advanced technology. They were witnessing the birth of something entirely new, a collaboration that would change this sector of space forever. The Mercadian vessel's systems hummed with renewed energy as the last of the repairs completed. Captain Sreeth stood at his viewport, watching the transformed Storm Hunter ships continue their work on the nebula while the Star Shepherd's engineering teams performed final checks on the rescued vessel. "Status report," he requested, his voice carrying the harmonics of someone who had witnessed a fundamental shift in their understanding of the universe. Lieutenant Prevail responded from her station, her antennae still twitching with excitement from the readings she'd been collecting. The Mercadian ship systems are now operating at 115% of their original capacity. The human engineers apparently couldn't resist making a few improvements while they were conducting repairs. The nebula stabilization is progressing ahead of schedule, Tactical Officer Versek added. The Storm Hunter's converted systems have already established a safe corridor, twice the width of standard shipping lanes. Their efficiency with the new technology is remarkable. Engineering Chief Surtil's appendages danced across his console as he compiled the technical data. The quantum engineering principles the humans shared with us. Sir, this goes beyond anything in our databases. They're not just advancing technology. They are rewriting what we thought was possible. The bridge crew fell silent as Captain Chen's image appeared on their main screen. The human captain's relaxed smile hadn't changed since their first communication, as if transforming pirates into nebula engineers and rewriting the laws of physics were all part of a routine day. The Mercadian captain reports all systems nominal, she announced. They've asked us to extend their thanks to everyone involved in the rescue operation. Particularly impressive work with those emergency medical transfers. Captain Sreeth, your crew's adaptation to our quantum corridors was exemplary. Sreeth felt his inner membranes warm at the genuine praise. The credit belongs to your team, Captain. You've shown us possibilities we never imagined. Oh, that's the best part about space exploration, Chen replied with a gentle laugh. There's always something new to imagine. Speaking of which, she gestured off-screen, and a stream of data began flowing to the Eternal Victory's computers. We've prepared some technical documentation about the quantum engineering principles we use today. Consider it a thank you for your cooperation. Prevail, already examining the data, emitted a subtle harmonic of shock. Captain, this information, it's not just about the technology we saw today. They're sharing fundamental principles that could revolutionize our entire approach to space travel. And engineering, Surtil added. And medicine. And everything. Chen's smile widened slightly. We find sharing knowledge tends to have interesting ripple effects, much like those nebula patterns the storm hunters are creating. Speaking of which, she turned slightly, addressing the converted pirate ships. Excellent work with those radiation conversions. Have you considered applying for positions with the Interstellar Engineering Corps? They're always looking for creative problem solvers. Sreeth watched in amazement as the former pirates eagerly engaged in discussion about their future careers. In less than one standard day, humans had transformed a potential battle into a cooperative engineering project, turned pirates into peaceful collaborators, and casually shared technology that would advance Skather civilization by decades. Before we depart, Chen said, turning back to Sreeth, I should mention that this sector is now under regular human observation. Not because we don't trust you, she added quickly, but because we found that maintaining open channels of communication tends to benefit everyone involved. The subtle message wasn't lost on Sreeth. The humans weren't establishing territory. They were offering ongoing collaboration. Safe travels, Captain Chen, he responded, using the formal harmonics of deepest respect. You've given us much to consider. As the Star Shepherd prepared to depart, Sreeth began composing his report to High Command. The title came to him instantly. First Contact Protocols. Redefining Possible. In the viewport behind him, the nebula glowed with new patterns of safety and cooperation, a permanent reminder that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't technology or weapons, but the simple willingness to imagine a better way forward.